Have you ever seen a woman go completely silent? Not because she's upset, but because you said something that touched her deeply. Most men say what's safe, what's expected. Nice dress. You look beautiful. But those words bounce off her like water on glass. She hears them every day. They mean nothing. But there are certain compliments. Rare ones, powerful ones, forbidden ones, that make her body pause, her mind race, and her guard completely drop. Today, I'll give you 3 forbidden compliments that make women weak around you. Not because they're manipulative, but because they speak to something deeper than her looks. Let's begin. Forbidden compliment 1. You don't have to be strong with me. Most people compliment her strength like it's a medal she should keep wearing forever. They admire her independence. They praise her for being so put together, but they never stop to wonder what it costs her. They don't see the exhaustion behind her smile. They don't see how much she wishes just for a moment she could rest. Not just physically, but emotionally. She's the one others run to when things fall apart, but no one ever asks if she's okay when she's quiet. She's learned how to carry pain quietly, how to bury her fear behind a confident face, how to keep going even when everything inside her is falling apart. And then a man looks at her, not with pity, not with pressure, but with understanding. And he says, "You don't have to be strong with me." That one line, it's not about weakness, it's about freedom. Suddenly her chest loosens, her eyes soften. For the first time in a long time, she feels like she doesn't have to perform, she doesn't have to lead, she doesn't have to protect herself. She can just be, no masks, no walls, just her, and someone who can handle all of her, not just the parts that shine. That compliment isn't about words. It's about what stands behind them. The kind of man who's so grounded, so emotionally steady, that she can finally exhale in his presence. Most men chase her strength and get intimidated by her silence. But the man who makes her feel safe enough to fall apart a little is the man she'll never forget. Not because he saved her, but because he gave her a place where she didn't have to save herself. That's not romance. That's power. That's not a line. That's presence. And to a woman who's always had to be strong, it's the most beautiful thing she's ever heard. Forbidden compliment 2. You don't scare me. Most men don't realize this, but when a woman gets emotional, intense, or even a little unpredictable, she's not always trying to create conflict. Sometimes she's just trying to feel safe being seen. Not judged, not corrected, just held, emotionally, not physically. But what happens most of the time? The moment her energy rises, most men pull away. They shut down. They get nervous, uncomfortable, or try to calm her down too quickly. Why? Because they're not used to that level of intensity. It shakes them, and she can feel it. But then there's him. The rare kind of man who doesn't flinch, who doesn't raise his voice, who doesn't run. He just looks her in the eye and says, "You don't scare me." It's not arrogance. It's strength. Quiet, grounded, calm strength. It tells her, "I can handle you, not just the sweet parts, but the storm too." And that does something powerful to her. Because beneath her fire, beneath her sharp words, there's a question she doesn't even know she's asking. Will you leave if I show you the real me? When you stay calm, when you tell her with your presence, "I'm not afraid of your emotions, your passion, your fire," she starts to relax in a way most men never get to see. Her walls don't crumble all at once, but piece by piece, she lets you in. Not because you forced it, but because you didn't get scared. And in her world, that's rare. She's not looking for a man who fights her energy. She's looking for one who can contain it, who can hold space for her without shrinking. When you say, "You don't scare me," you're not challenging her. You're inviting her to be real. And that's when she finally stops pretending. and starts trusting, because now she knows she doesn't have to protect herself from you. She can finally lean on you. And that's the kind of man she'll never forget. Forbidden compliment. 3. There's something about your silence I trust. She's spent most of her life being noticed for the moments when she's on. When she's glowing, laughing, performing, whether it's in a room full of people or just with one person. She knows how to carry a conversation, how to smile at the right time, how to make others feel seen. And because of that, people think they know her. But they don't, because they only see the surface. They love her light, but they don't understand her quiet. Most men only compliment the obvious, her looks, her voice, her charm. But when she goes silent, when her eyes drift into thought, when she isn't trying to be impressive, people get uncomfortable. They think something's wrong. They try to pull her back to the version of her that's easy to digest. But you notice the stillness. You're not thrown off by the pause. In fact, it draws you in. You look at her in that silent moment and say, "There's something about your silence I trust." That one line, it reaches somewhere deep, because now she knows you're not in love with the performance. You're not just interested in her energy when she's giving. You're connected to the space she holds when she's just being. No pressure, no noise, just her. And in that moment, everything changes. She doesn't feel like she has to sparkle to be wanted. She doesn't feel like she has to keep proving her worth to keep your attention. She realizes something she hasn't felt in a long time. She can rest. She can simply exist and still be fully seen. And that kind of presence, the kind that notices her silence and respects it, that's what makes her melt. Because now love doesn't feel like work. Now connection doesn't feel like a performance. Now you don't feel like the rest. You feel like home. Remember this. The compliments that change a woman aren't always the ones that sound the sweetest. They're the ones that come from depth, from stillness, from a man who sees her, not just looks at her. Any man can tell her she's beautiful, but very few can make her feel safe. Very few can sit with her silence and understand what it means. Very few can stand in front of her storm and not flinch. That kind of man doesn't talk to impress. He speaks with clarity. He listens with presence. And he leads with calm power. So stop chasing her attention. Stop using empty charm. Stop saying what every other man is saying. Instead, say what only you can say because you actually see her. Not her image, not her performance, her essence. That's what makes a woman melt. That's what makes you unforgettable. If you're done playing it safe, if you're done being the man who fades into the background, and you're ready to become the man she remembers in the silence after you're gone, type presence in the comments and subscribe. This space isn't for men who need to be loud. It's for the few who know that real power doesn't ask to be seen, it simply is.